G'day everyone, welcome to The Bothy. I'm Chris.
G'day, I'm Al.
So I've just returned from the Across Victoria Alliance conference, mate.
Sounds like a great time.
I had a ball. It was an absolute blast.
Unfortunately, some of us have to work for a living.
Yeah, well, I call that work of sorts. I met a whole heap of outstanding people, heard a number of great speeches and presentations on all sorts of issues facing the regional community today. First of all, though, very quickly, what is the AVA? It's a coalition of Victorian farmers, landowners and regional community groups, as well as representatives from South Australia, New South Wales and Queensland. It's been formed in response to concerns around mining activity, transmission lines, renewable energy projects, the ESVF, which is a disgrace, and is focused on introducing more transparency, consultation and accountability between these projects, the government, and those that are directly affected on the land.
Actual transparency and not...
Transparency?
Not transparency. Exactly right, yeah. We'll do a separate episode on the conference. In fact, we'll probably do a few separate episodes on the conference because there were some great speeches that I have been able to record. But in this episode, we're going to share the opening evening speech delivered by Barnaby Joyce, who was joined by other members of One Nation on that night and right through the conference. One Nation had a really strong presence. Rikki-lee, who we both know was there right through. They were accessible. They listened. They gave anyone and everyone their undivided attention. It was refreshing, mate. And a fantastic effort from Barnaby Joyce, who left home at 4 a.m. on that Sunday morning to get down and speak to us in Horsham, which is the other end of the state, to, once he'd finished the dinner, sit around and talk to as many people who wanted to talk to him before going back to Canberra that night to be in Parliament the next morning. Absolutely outstanding effort. So on the Sunday night, it was a meet and greet dinner at the Horsham Golf Course, which looked in terrific condition. Green fairways looked really, really good. It's one of those events where, where you walk into a room and you listen to the conversation for 30 seconds, then you find a table and you sit down, that's going to be your table for your night, and you listen to the conversation around you and you immediately know you're the dumbest person in the room. That was my experience on that Sunday night.
Welcome to my world.
My table featured some amazingly talented, super smart people that included Gerald Feeney, whose knowledge of renewable energy is second to none. The guy is seriously switched on. Andrew Phelan, who I believe actually does know everything there is to know on all subjects. Everything. Yep. He specialises as a China-Asia analyst. I think somehow he was blessed with multiple brains when he was born or something. He's such an interesting and engaging guy to talk to. I also had the pleasure of Aidan Morrison at our table, who's another expert on the impact of renewable energy, nuclear energy, fossil fueled energy, particularly from a living standards and cost of doing business point of view. And there were lots of other smart people at my table and every other table, mate. It wasn't the crowd you expected it to be. It was full of highly educated, switched on people and people that held strong positions, mayors, committees, really.
A lot of farmers there as well.
Well, they are all farmers as well.
They're all farmers.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. So for me, it was head down, listen, learn, absorb as much as I could, try and remember it in my mushy old brain. But the start of the show was Barnaby Joyce. So without further ado, here's Barnaby's speech. A word of warning. I filmed it from my table, so it's not the best picture quality. All the flanks were taken up by mass media. There was ABC there, Sky was there, and there are other podcasters there that were far more professionals than me. And they had great setups. So please enjoy. The sound's pretty good. Please excuse the picture quality.
A great crowd here tonight, and the greatest congratulations does go to you for turning up. I'd like to also acknowledge, obviously, Brian, Andrew, Stuart, mayors that are here. Ricky, where are you? Where are you? Down there. Our upper house member. Thank you very much. And I hope that later on you get a chance to catch up with Warren Pickering, who's right down the back there, who obviously is, as we start this movement, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Warren's fundamental in that. Look, I'll tell you who I'm really sad is not here tonight, and that is Jacinta Allan. I kept an eye out for her. I had a spare seat for her. No luck, no cigar there. But in all seriousness, Jacinta should be here. She should be. Because, this idea that people evolve in politics where they say, I don't need to be there. I don't need to listen to that riffraff. I don't need to talk to those people. I don't need to be challenged in my views. I'm endowed with the benevolence to know all good things that are pure, and I can change the temperature of the globe. And it's a shame Jacinta is not here. Jess, I'm sorry, Jess, I wish you had been here as well. That's a shame. Like, people remember things. Like when you don't turn up to dinner. They remember that. When they put dinner on for you and you don't show up. It's a bad move. Don't do it. And if they had turned up, well, you had the discussion. We're not, primates running around the jungle throwing rocks at each other. Within this room, people would have strong views. They may disagree with you, but they're not going to assault you. And that is part of your job as a politician. Not just to turn up to when it's easy, but to turn up when it's hard. And to get around the room and find out what's going on, because it might sway you, it might temper you in some of the more virulent views that you have. And I want to start pressing on some of them. I don't believe anybody, the biggest mistake politicians make, they make two big mistakes. The biggest mistake they make is they believe they own your vote. They own your vote. You've got nowhere else to go. They own you. They've got to understand they don't own your vote, they earn your vote. They earn your vote when they put themselves as your servant and when they approach things knowing that you as the individual have primacy, not the state. Point number one. The state is there as the servant of the individual Victorian. The Victorian is not the servant of the state. It is incredibly important that you understand that the article, the state, is not a god. It does not have perfect knowledge. And the right of the individual, your freedoms are encapsulated in your right to be the individual and have the state as your servant. The process in politics is to do what? It's to do this. It's that an individual, no matter that they weren't born of the best family or born with the best prospects of an education or born with money, that person nonetheless can transcend through the economic and social stratification of life to their highest level, limited only by their innate abilities. So if they're a fool, they go to a fool's level. If they're diligent, hardworking, they go to diligent, hardworking level. If they're diligent, hardworking, and smart, the world's their oyster. And what impedes that process? What can stop that? Two things. Big government. Big government steps in the way of that. And it takes away that right. And what we have, and also big corporations, to be quite frank, monopolies. But what we have here is the absolute essence, so much going on in this room, is the story of big government basically coming into your lives and removing your rights as Victorians. Yes. And we're seeing it in the most noxious forms. Don't ever call them renewables. There's nothing renewable about them. They're intermittent power. They're swindle factories. They're intermittent power swindle factories that are not going to change the temperature of the globe. They're just going to make really rich people really, really, really rich. That's what they're going to do. And what we're seeing here in Victoria, in so many areas, is people's rights being diminished as the state goes into bat for domestic billionaires and foreign multinationals to build solar precincts, wind precincts, transmission lines, all underwritten by a capacity investment scheme, secret agreements. So the taxpayer pays these billionaires a return, even if they don't produce an electron of energy, and on the way through, we are seeing these laws that if you stand in their way, if you have the temerity to stand in their way, you get with the fines, $16,000 fines. You go to jail. You go to jail if you stand up against the state. And now we find that not even just area where the intermittent power precincts are, but was it a kilometre around them? The state ruling supreme. Turning up, the police don't want to be there, turn with police, and turning up with security guards to say, I know that your father, your great-grandfather, yourself worked so hard by the sweat of your brows to pay this asset off. I know that there would have been arguments. There might have been divorces.
There were skin cancers. There were people who went without the privations of striving for the ownership of an asset. And then after all that, after generations of work, the government, Jacinta Allan, turns up and says, no, none of that is as important as me and my view of what I should do with your family's endeavours, with your family's efforts. This intrusion into the basic rights, the basic principles of what underpins not only Victoria but Australia, the rights of the individual, the primacy of the family, the endeavours of small business, the fact that when you make a sacrifice, you get to hold and own reward in title to land. These things are so important, so important. So people say, and I hear nothing. Then tonight I hear that, so they're going to have a critical minerals mine, but the Chinese government are involved in it. How does that work? Isn't there something happening in Taiwan? Did I miss something there? I mean, there's sort of once more this illogical intrusion, not only on a sort of a private thing, but on a macro sense. So, ladies and gentlemen, why did I, after 30 years, not 10, not 20 years with the Nationals, 30 years, 10 years working for the party, 10 years, and 20 years serving them. Because it's not that I think they're bad people or anything like that. I think there was just a lack of clarity, a lack of strength. And you can see it quite obviously with that ridiculous new wedding happening up in Canberra tonight. A lack of unity. I don't know what that's. How many times can two people get married in 1 year before you sort of give up on it? I mean, they are wearing out the carpet between the altar and the solicitor's firm. And I don't know what they do. I mean, the groom turned up tonight. He didn't even have a coat or a tie on, so he was really fascinated in his new night out. This is what sort of drove me here, and to come here. I don't believe that I'm any sort of prophetic fear and people are changing. I do believe exactly what's happening with One Nation is exactly what you see here tonight. The Australian people, which you're a great reflection of, they've just been so frustrated for so long, and something I never considered doing 10 years ago, and the frustration built up and built up and built up, and then they got to a point where that'll do me. I'm there. We've seen it on a whole range. Obviously, the absolute disgraceful tragedy, which was Bondi, was also another big thing about. Always tell us how everybody's going to get along and no one's going to get hurt, and all of a sudden there was that. But I want to work with you to try and do what I can to assist you in making sure that you and your rights in dealing with the intermittent power precincts, that we remove the capacity investment schemes so these precincts fall over, so that we remove all these secret agreements so the solar precincts and the wind precincts fall over. So we believe in building coal-fired power stations. I hate saying that. I believe in building coal-fired power stations. They're a really good idea. Big coal-fired power stations. Because I believe that we've got to make Australia as powerful as quickly as possible.
Yes.
I believe that we've really got our work cut out for us. And we used to have some of the cheapest energy in the world. Now we've got some of the dearest. We've got coal that goes from Gippsland to Mackay. But apparently everybody else can use it, but not us. And if we start getting that baseload power going, we don't need VNI West. We don't need these things. We had it all working. It was working really well until Jacinta and Chris Bowen turned up. And we've got to we get our nation back to these logical core principles of business, core principles of logic. Remove ourselves from the butterfly chasing crazy ideas, such as we in Canberra, that I can actually change the weather. Remove those and just get back to core principles that we can make this nation strong. We can take all those impediments that are now being cast onto your places and remove them. And we can make it so much safer for your children that we actually make this nation strong again. Anyway, to do that, I've made the change, And it's hard. It was hard. But others have got to do it as well. Otherwise, remember, for you to have real political effect, they've got to believe that they've lost you and you're gone. And to try and get you back, they're going to have to come up forward with policies that deal with the issues that they've so successfully ignored of yours. Now, in my part, we're doing that. Because in the past, they used to say, where can they go? They got nowhere else to go. They go to the Labor Party, they don't like them, they go to the Lib Snats, and Snats back to the Labor Party, they got nowhere else to go. What I want to make sure is they got somewhere else to go, that you got somewhere else to go. And we're going to have this political marketplace where your issues are truly ventilated and you really do have options and you drive the agenda. But for that to happen, you have got to be prepared to change. And once they know that you're prepared to change, they will start to panic big time. And then we can start solving some of these problems. All the best and God bless.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, he's common sense for once.
Exactly right.
It's like, I've not heard that for so long that I almost didn't understand what he was talking about.
It's a point you actually made on a few episodes ago where until they're scared that they might lose and start to come around to make some promises that the people actually want.
And they'll actually keep them.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, there's no guarantee that they'll go, but you never know. Intermittent power factories. That's pretty cool. That's bang on the money. The continual no transparency, no consultation. It comes up in every speech.
No transparency.
And no
Transparency.
Yeah. The point that they own our vote. They think they do.
Yeah.
Between Liberal and Labor, or Labor and Liberal and the coalition, they believe they own our vote.
It's like they're playing with a ball. Throwing it there, throwing it back, throwing it there, throwing it back.
It always comes down to those two.
But now there's a little kid there.
Yeah.
And some people want to play with him.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing.
Yep.
He had the room eating out of his hand, mate. Absolutely. You could eat a pin drop when he was talking. People were hanging on his every word. Really poor decision from Labor and Jess Wilson not to show up at all.
Yeah, that is not good.
And interesting that Labor decided to announce that the SEC have gone and bought a solar farm now in Horsham for $300 and something million, 212,000 panels.
On top of the other one, they're buying
on top of the wind farm in Delburn. Exactly right. The Nats and Libs did attend the next day at the conference, but I don't think there was any Liberal and Nat representation at the dinner, which was a far more casual, move around the room, have a chat to whoever you want. Warren Pickering, Rikki-lee, Tyrrell, and Barnaby were completely just walk up to them and have a chat about anything you wanted. The weather, the golf course, or politics.
He's taller than I thought.
Yeah, he is, mate. Yeah. I think I've shrunk.
Yeah, because that photo you showed me with you and him, you're a real short arse.
Yeah.
And you're taller than I am, so what does that make me?
Yeah, well, yeah.
And even shorter arse.
Barnaby is, I reckon, 6'10". What I would say is good on you, Barnaby. Yeah, like I said, he left home at 4 a.m, mate. Thanks for giving up the time for us, because at the end of the day, we're not in his electorate.
No.
And yes, they're looking for support for their party, but 200 people sitting in a room in Horsham isn't exactly going to make or break one nation. The fact that he's getting around and talking to everybody makes me immediately lean into him, because they were there caring for us on the night and they were there the next day doing the same thing.
It's just nice to have like a party that looks like they give a shit for us. You know?
Yeah. And when he says we want to build more coal-fired power plants and have a balance of power, I mean, we've said how many times, do we need coal-fired power plants? Yes. Nuclear?
Yes.
Yes. A bit of renewables?
Yes.
Yes. Hydro?
Yes.
Absolutely. We need it all. Gas?
Yes.
Exactly right. And if you've got it all, then at different times it will be less and more expensive, but there'll be a balance and it will be reliable. So well done to Barnaby. Terrific to listen to him speak. Really switched on guy. Hell of a nice guy too. The amount of time he gave up was terrific.
Especially knowing that you had to drive all that distance back.
To get to an airport to fly to Canberra. Yeah, Horsham's not exactly just around the corner from Melbourne. You're talking 2 250 k's from Melbourne.
He gets about. Yeah.
Yeah. And on a Sunday, gave up his own.
But
day.
that's what you got to do when you're canvassing for votes.
Yep. And if Jess Wilson had another appointment, like she says, and she couldn't get there on the Monday morning, she should have been there on the Sunday night and driven back to Melbourne for the Monday morning.
You could have given a lift.
No, well, I stayed there on Monday. All right, everyone, let us know what you think of the speech. I thought it was brilliant, and it's just a little taste. We had so many good speakers. Aidan Morrison's speech, I cannot wait to share that with everybody. And we did an awesome interview with Ross Johns. Now, there's a switched on guy. Missed his calling though, mate. Great farmer, great talker. He should have been in John Law's shoes. What a voice for radio.
Oh, really?
That guy has
He's got a good voice.
Oh, yeah.
Deep.
Yeah. Booming. Yeah. Another guy who's about 7'3" tall. Wow, hell. I was the little one in the bunch, mate. Anyway. All right, everyone, let us know what you think.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
See ya.